Hi, you guys. Robin Miller here, and we're kicking off spring. I'm so glad that you're here with me, whoever is here with me. We're going to make two dishes today. I love doing these live events because I get to share some of my favorite recipes and I get to meet some of you. So I want to let you know right from the very beginning that I'd love to hear who's here, your name, where you're from. We can kind of make this an interactive cooking kind of class. And also, what I love is questions. So, if any of you are watching and you have questions about the recipes I'm making, how you can alter them, change them, seasonal produce wise or otherwise, I'm also a nutritionist. And we can make it interactive as if you're sitting right here at my kitchen counter. Tell you a little bit about me for those of you who may not know, if this is your first live event with me. A food writer, nutritionist, cookbook author. I have multiple classes on Craftsy. I just filmed two new ones. One Pot Wonders is one of the ones that I did. I've done things with fancy fast food. So check those out. They are soon to launch. I've got a bunch of them, too many to mention. And I love doing these live events, and I do them pretty regularly so I can interact with you all and do seasonal things. So today we're going to do spring recipes, two spring recipes. I'm going to take advantage of some beautiful asparagus, some Brussels sprouts, two different ways. So one in the oven and one on the cooktop. And they're really versatile recipes. They're healthy and they can be incorporated the way that you want to make them at home. So if you don't like one ingredient or don't have one ingredient, we can talk about how you can swap things in. So I will get started because one of them is going to go in the oven. And again, feel free to interrupt and ask questions and I'll stop and we'll go through it. My last live event was awesome because I got a lot of questions about, it was more of a baking thing. We did a breakfast braid. I know you can find the content on Craftsy. And there were questions about the dough and the filling. And it was really fun because when you ask a question, other people will get inspired to not only ask a question, but think, oh, I never thought about that. I'll do it that way too. So bring it on. We can make this a group thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my cheesy roasted asparagus. Everyone loves this dish. It's on my blog, but it was also featured in USA Today because it's a showstopper. It's great for entertaining, yet it's quick and easy enough for any busy weeknight. And I know this sounds silly, but if you have trouble getting the little ones to eat vegetables, it's a great way to get them to try asparagus if they've refused to try it before because it's ultra cheesy and garlicky. It's delicious. So I'll show you what I've got set up so far. I've got a baking sheet. I did a kind of a double batch of asparagus. This is two bags of asparagus from my local grocery store, but you could just get a bunch or two bunches. I've just arranged it on a baking sheet. It doesn't have to be fancy or in a single layer because I'm going to toss it anyway. So in this little bowl, I'm going to combine some olive oil. I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I know this sounds like a lot. And in the recipe, I also mentioned, don't skimp on this because we want the asparagus to crisp up. And the olive oil really helps do that in the oven over a high temperature, 425 degrees. So you've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I prefer a good flavored olive oil. So if you have one that you use for, say, salads, that kind of thing, where it's got good, nice flavor, that's the olive oil you want to use here. And I've got 2 cloves of garlic, little garlic pressed. You can do more or less garlic. I strongly encourage you to do fresh garlic and not garlic powder. You simply won't get the same flavor from garlic powder. And fun fact, fresh garlic doesn't give you garlic breath as much as garlic powder and dehydrated minced garlic. So that's kind of a fun fact to know. If you're not looking for garlic breath, this is an excellent way to avoid it using fresh cloves. So I used my press, and what I like to do, this is a tip I always give in my Craftsy classes, is to make sure that you get all the garlic that got stuck to the press. There's a lot left over after you press a clove. There's a lot still left. You see how much is still there that could potentially be tossed. Give it one more squeeze. Okay, perfect. And then some salt and pepper. Recipe calls for about a teaspoon. You can cut back on that since we're adding cheese. I'll probably use a half a teaspoon here because my grinder puts out a decent amount. We've got Tommy Ann, hello from Belton, Missouri. Nice to meet you. And Sandy, hi, greetings from Austria. Hello. Welcome, you guys. That's amazing. I love it. I love both Missouri and Austria. We'll do about a quarter of a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. And you've heard me say this probably every time if you've been to my classes or my lives before. I love freshly ground salt and freshly ground pepper, but at the very least, freshly ground pepper really gives you the nuances that you don't get from a shaker. It's more nutty, it's more flavorful, it's more aromatic. So I strongly suggest that you freshly grind. And they're so affordable. These battery operated or the rechargeable ones are really affordable these days. On Amazon is where I got mine, I think. Okay, so we take this little mixture of the olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper, pour it over the asparagus. Make sure you get all the garlic out of there. You could technically do all this right on the sheet pan and not dirty a bowl. But for the purposes of this live, I think it just, just shows you the steps. So we'll toss, you want to cover every little bit. Look how big this asparagus. This one is much bigger than the rest, but he gets to stay on the baking sheet nonetheless. We've got Mary from Omaha. I think it says Omaha. Yep, Omaha, Nebraska. Welcome, Mary. Thanks for joining. I'd love to hear if you guys have thoughts of spring vegetables that you like to cook with, maybe what you have planned for Mother's Day, which is coming up very soon. I believe it's May 10. This is a great Mother's Day dish. If you're looking for, whether you're a mom or you want to cook for the mom, this is a great side dish to wow her. So we'll toss this all together. I just want to make sure there's no dry pieces. And you certainly can get in with your hands here, which I normally would do. I normally would be doing this with my hands. But, and also look, here's a perfect example of how we want to watch this in the oven. We've got this skinny spear and this fat spear. So obviously they're not going to all cook at the same time, but we'll see how it goes. We've got some skinny ones, some fat ones. This time of year, I've noticed, week to week, the thickness of the asparagus has been changing. It's super thin one week and then thick the other week. So perhaps they put the two different varieties in the same bag when I purchased this. And when here's a good tip. If you're buying the, like a bunch of asparagus, when you get it home, you want to rinse it to remove just any dirt. I always assume that everything fell on the floor at the grocery store. So I wash all my produce first, or I blanch it. And then you want to cut off the woody ends. I know some recipes will advise you to snap off the woody ends. I find that you lose a lot of the asparagus that way. So I like to just cut off the woody ends. All right, finished tossing. So now I'm going to take this to the oven, 425 degrees. Isn't that pretty already? 425 degrees until they are crisp tender, not quite fully tender, but not still crisp. And then we'll top it with some cheese. So that'll go in the oven and then we'll start the next side dish. Okay, I'm back. So we're going to make another side dish. Can somebody set a timer for me and in 10 minutes tell me to go check the oven in case I lose track of time? Did I miss anybody that's here? No. Good. Remember, tell me where you're from. It's fun. We can all be together. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is get a skillet over medium-high heat. Any skillet will do. Now we're going to make a side dish that features Brussels sprouts, snow peas. You could use snap peas. We've got sun-dried tomatoes, more cheese. I'm going to get all my ingredients lined up so you can see how this goes. We have got Lisa. Okay, let me just make sure. I'm going to lean in, but I don't want to lean in front of the camera. We've got Lisa. How do you keep asparagus from getting soggy in the oven? Do you have a preference between thicker or thinner asparagus? So that's a good question, Lisa. It doesn't get soggy in the oven. And the tip I gave first, the 3 tablespoons of olive oil and a very high heat, 425 degrees, that's going to prevent, because we're roasting it, we're not baking it. Otherwise, at a lower temperature, like 350, the asparagus tends to steam instead of roast. And I see what you mean. It starts to sweat, and it sits in its own moisture, and it gets soggy. So the way to prevent that is the olive oil coating 425 degrees. It's in, it's out, 10 minutes. And you will see it's crisp. It's not wimpy or wilted at all. And I make it this way all the time. So confident that it works. And I think the question was, Patricia had a question, or somebody Lisa's still same one, thin or thick, fresh. I don't even care. I don't care if it's thin. I don't care if it's thick, as long as it's fresh and not, what drives me crazy is when I get asparagus home, if it's a prepackaged like I used, and there's some soggy pieces inside and it's past its prime. So I don't care if it's thick or thin. That's a personal preference. My mom had a preference, and she liked the thicker because she liked to pick up the asparagus. She always said the proper way to eat asparagus is with your hands. So it was easier to pick up the thicker stalks. That's the way she used to eat it. So that we ate with our hands when it came to asparagus side dishes, but whatever is fresh and available and preferably local, then that would be my preference. Patricia said, white asparagus, have you ever cooked that? Yes, I love white asparagus. That works here too. It would be show-stopping. It would be like a white dish because it would be white asparagus, white cheese. I think that would be really pretty, or a combination of them both, white and green, would also be super festive. So that is something that would be really awesome too. I do love it. And I believe that it's white asparagus because it's no chlorophyll, because it's been kept from the sun. So it's kind of a fun fact. But that also works if you can get your hands on that. Care Bear, I love asparagus. Your mother would make it with holiday sauces. So that's great. I just didn't like the sauce. The vegetables. I love it grilled too. I love it grilled as well. This is kind of like you get those same flavors because we're cooking at high heat and we're roasting the asparagus. So we're going to get like the golden brown caramelization. So this is very similar to that roasted vibe. That grilled vibe. And if you wanted to grill first, you could. It may char the garlic a little bit, but you could grill this asparagus, then put the cheese on top and pop it under the broiler. So if you're cooking outside this weekend and you want to make this side dish, that's an excellent way to go. All right, I can feel the heat coming from my pan. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Oh, hi from Georgia. We've got, I think it says Jess. Yep. Hello from Georgia. I will show you how we're going to make this Brussels sprout dish. First thing I did, by the way, I took 12 ounces of Brussels sprouts. I believe the recipe calls for 8 ounces, but 8 to 12 ounces. I blanched them whole in boiling water for 1 minute. I brought a pot of water up to a boil, threw in the Brussels sprouts. 1 minute later, I drained, rinsed under cold water. When it was cool enough to handle, I removed the stem ends, and tabbed them because we want to get some nice browning on the flat side, on the cut side. So that's just, you don't have to, the recipe tells you don't have to do that, but I find blanching Brussels sprouts gets rid of that bitter, that sulfur quality. Just a quick plunge, 1 minute in water really tones that down. I found, and especially if you're roasting, I find that the high heat with a dry vegetable just kind of brings out more of that sulfur quality that I'm not a big fan of. So I do like the blanching step. Plus, then you don't have to wash them because you just one more pan to clean. Okay, so this is a jar of sun-dried tomatoes. I bought them, I think did I already buy them diced? If not, I will cut them up, but I think I did. So what I love about sun-dried tomatoes is the oil in the jar. You can buy them dry, but I prefer the oil packed, because you have the oil that's steeped. It's got rich with the sun-dried tomato flavor, which is chewy and it's sweet and it's slightly tart. And you can use it in vinaigrettes, and you can use it in salad dressings. You can use it as a marinade, and I'm going to use it to saute the vegetables. So we'll get about a tablespoon. So there's the oil going in. The pan was hot. Oh, it smells so good. So these have this one I believe has some herbs in there too. So we'll do about a tablespoon, just enough to kind of cover the bottom of the pan. I'll turn it down because I got chatty and the pan got hot. So what I want to do here is take these Brussels sprouts that I halved and put them flat side down in the hot oil. We've got something from Sandy. Hello, Sandy. She had white asparagus years ago, and I didn't like it at all. Interesting. Never had green. So, what'd you say? For a single girl, it's too much effort. I don't know. I cook asparagus for myself all the time because you can buy just one bunch, and I like to either do what I'm doing now or just quickly blanch it in salt and pepper. I feel like it's like the perfect size for a single girl, but that's just me. So see how I'm putting these flat side down? I think you should try that again, Sandy. I think you shouldn't give up because it's so good for you. And I do think that you might, your palate may have changed. Who knows? Worth trying again. So flat side down. And ideally use a skillet that is big enough to fit them all in flat side down. There. You want to get a little browning on the bottom. I think I'm caught up with questions, but feel free to keep going and tell me where you're from. If you just joined, I'm from Pennsylvania. I've moved around quite a bit, but that's where I am now. We'll add some seasoning here. We're going to do some salt and pepper. And if you guys notice, the media is all about the different varieties of salt and how we can get minerals from some of these really cool Celtic and real salt. And it's true. And so I kind of make sure that I get salt because you never know what you might be missing in your diet throughout the day and throughout the week. So if you can get a few extra minerals from your salt, excellent way to go. Let's see if we've got any color yet. See, we've got a little bit of browning, but I want more because this is going to add the sweetness and the caramelization that we're going for. And I turn the pan down too much. Again, these are spring recipes, but I think they're both great for Mother's Day, for cookouts, Memorial Day weekend, people coming. Because they're quick, they're easy, they're healthy, and they're ultra colorful. And they're adaptable. So if you're not a big fan of Brussels sprouts, swap in broccoli. You wouldn't have to blanch it first. You can just get it in and give it a sear in the sun-dried tomato oil. Sarah, she's, hi from Sarah, hello. Baby Luke, oh, she's got a baby Luke. Sorry, these are too difficult for me to, I gotta zoom in and read. Who's resisting going to sleep in England? Oh, I have a Luke also, but he sleeps through the night now because he's in college. Well, I'm glad you're up, waiting for Luke to go to sleep and joining me here. That's awesome. My Luke is actually going to graduate in 2 weeks. And my Luke sleeps till noon when he can. So maybe it's just, we've got two different kids there. And we've got a name, Mal Garzada. Hello from London, and Julian and Doja. Nice to meet you. Tommy Ann, I know that you mentioned fresh veggies, but would it be okay to use frozen Brussels sprouts, or do you think it would make them tough? No, I think you can absolutely use frozen Brussels sprouts, and here's why. Because they're already blanched. So that's the step that I did. So you absolutely can use frozen Brussels sprouts. I would thaw them and have them. So you're just skipping the step. You're basically getting the same result and skipping the step that I just did. But since this is like a spring live event, that's why I'm choosing to use the fresh. But absolutely, if frozen is, you get your hands on that, absolutely use that. Patricia, I think you're helping me get out of the steaming my vegetables and serving them. And I'm upping your game. Well, Patricia, I love it. And thank you so much. She said she loves it. I know, I love it because here's the thing. Look at this beautiful, this is flavor right here. So steaming the Brussels sprouts, you're not going to get that. And a lot of people who don't, have you noticed the Brussels sprouts have become like a super popular appetizer in restaurants? It's because they're fried. They're basically fried in oil. And so people love that because it's something different than just steamed. So while this is, before this burns, I'm just going to show you, I'm going to add this is a 8-ounce bag of pre-washed snow peas. You can add any veggies you want here. Snap peas, green beans, regular fresh spring peas. And this is really fun. And again, I think, as Patricia said, it's like upping the game a little bit, but not really. I mean, it's just adding color flavor, but not really any work. Of course, you could just throw a steam bag in the microwave, but you get what you put into it too. The flavor is not going to be as complex or robust. I'm just loving the look of these. So we're going to, before the pan dries out, I'm going to get in more of the sun-dried tomatoes. The recipe, I think, calls for 1/4 cup. I have also done this dish, and this is going to add some moisture too, with grape tomatoes and cherry tomatoes, and that's super fun too because it's really colorful, and the tomatoes blister. Anybody watching my cloth? Do I need to check the asparagus? Just give us the snow peas don't take any time at all. They're best served kind of on the crisp side. So we just want them to get a little bit more tender. And we gave the Brussels sprouts a little head start, so because they do take longer. So you would, if you're going to switch up the vegetables here, you would add them in the order of how long they take to cook. So come back here. Vegetables that take a little longer would go in first. So you would add your broccoli, your cauliflower, any root vegetables like that. And you add them first. And then snow peas, like fresh spring peas, would go in towards the end. I've gotten to this point, added a splash of wine. That kind of elevates it too. I'll turn the temperature down. So let's see, we've got, I think let me see if I can scroll up. I might be missing some stuff. Here it goes. Fresh veggies. Okay, we got that one. Those good. Care said cooking 2 of his favorite vegetables. Broccoli is amazing with all the other, but it's a problem with keeping enough in the house. I love broccoli too. And in fact, I have like a 2-pound bag of florets in my fridge right now. So yeah, that works. And a broccoli cauliflower combo is a super great combo. And let me see. Whoops. I'm just turning it off. I just heard the heat. The flame went out. Sandy, the little green dress of the garden aisle. Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Oh, it's been 10 minutes. All right. Thanks, Tommy Ann. Thank you. I'm going to go get my, I'm going to go get you asparagus. Stay right there. I love that you put it in caps. Okay. So I'll show you what it looks like. This is what this next step. See how it's, let me get this on the, it's hot. Yes, it's 425 degrees. But do you see how it's not wilted? The question about it being, yeah, that was a little too hot. The question about it being soggy, like, you know, if you bake it in the oven, is it going to get soggy? But you can see it's holding its shape. So I'll show you how I finish this. Oven is still on. I'm going to move this out of the way. This is why I love this little cooktop, because I can move it in and out of the shop. We're going to top this with cheese, because that's going to make it extra fabulous. I love that you put, it's been 10 minutes. That's very cute that you put it in all caps. Okay, so I like to leave some of the asparagus exposed so you can see what it looks like. I've done this with Parmesan cheese too. In fact, there's a restaurant when I lived in Arizona, my sons loved this Italian restaurant where they would bring out fresh asparagus, roasted fresh asparagus, and they would bring out a huge block of Parmesan cheese, and they would just shave it over at the table. So that was, they loved that. Okay, this is going back in the oven just for a couple minutes. The other option, if you don't want to cook the asparagus anymore, is to just pop it under the broiler. So I turned my oven off because I don't want it to really cook anymore, but I would pop this under the broiler. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to have it melt. And then you can see, because you can see by the picture in the intro to this live that there are little brown bubbles on the asparagus, and that's from the broiler. Okay, So let's get that cooktop back over. Turn the heat back on. And if someone can just warn me, I know I have Tommy Ann, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, to warn me maybe when it's been 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll go back and I'll pull it out because the cheese is going to melt really fast. We'll get this tossed to get the heat back under it. Just a little heat to finish this dish. Isn't this pretty? We will have made, how long have I been cooking? 20 minutes? We will have made 2 side dishes with lots of talking and questions in the shortest amount of time. So I feel like when spring springs, I want to be outside more. I don't want to be stuck in the kitchen over the stove doing dishes. So that's why I love these quick and easy yet show-stopping side dishes that take advantage of spring produce, because now all the farmers markets are starting to open. Okay, we're going to finish this with some Parmesan cheese. So let's get that handy. This is what I'm going to use. So I always call for, how can you see that? Freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And when I say that, I mean that you can cheat a little bit and use the freshly grated cheese that your grocery store freshly grates. So it's in the refrigerated section. It's often with the specialty cheeses. It's not cheating because it's still fresh and it lasts in the fridge. I always have a container of this for times like this. But if you do have a wedge or a block of cheese, this is where you would grate it right in. But fresh cheese is supreme. None of that shelf-stable stuff that lasts forever. Doesn't melt properly. It doesn't have that nutty, wonderful, salty goodness that good Parmesan cheese does. So I highly encourage you to grate the cheese or buy it. Buy it. This is actually shredded, to buy it fresh, cold. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons. You can add more. I would do 2, and then I would serve more at the table. We've got, Nicole, what other vegetables would work well in the cheesy baked asparagus? I have done, that's a good question. I have done broccoli. My favorite, though, is broccolini, the baby broccoli. I've done broccoli rabe. Some people don't like broccoli rabe because it can be a little bit bitter. And that's why I like it with the asparagus preparation, because it's got cheese and garlic and olive oil. And florets of broccoli, florets of cauliflower. I've also done cauliflower steaks. So you take the whole head of cauliflower and you cut crosswise so you have, looks like a big flower. So you have the steaks. You can do those, put the cheese on top. Parmesan cheese works really great that way. Zucchini, rounds or long strips of zucchini. I've made pizzas with zucchini. So I would grill the slices and then put them in the oven with the cheese on top. So, and it's almost zucchini season. And I know people are always looking for recipes for zucchini, like in September, because their garden is overflowing. So, but I would do that. So if you don't want to use asparagus, I would lean into broccoli, broccolini, broccoli rabe, and cauliflower. I think those are your best choices because they will withstand the roasting and they partner well with cheese without being consumed by the cheese, without getting lost in the cheese, if that makes sense. Did I miss anybody? I think I got it. If I missed your question and it's way up high, oops. Please send it again. Send it again so I don't miss any. So this is it. This is the whole dish. The spring vegetable. I've done this. In fact, I just revamped a recipe for the spring vegetable stir fry with an Asian twist. And it's got all this, but it's also got bell peppers and it's in like a teriyaki style marinade. So it's just like another way to do it. If you're going dairy free, you can go the Asian direction and it's got soy and sesame and it's super delicious. So if it's been 2 minutes, I'm going to go let me make some room. Tommy Ann, it's been about 3 minutes. You're my hero. You are my clock for today. We'll make some room for it. Love it. We're all friends here, right? We're in this together. I feel that way about cooking. That's what I love about cooking. I feel like everybody can relate. Not everybody wants to do it, but everybody can relate and we're in it together, which is why when I do these lives, I feel like you're in my kitchen. I feel like we're just like hanging out and you pulled up a couple bar stools and here we are. So this should be I did bang the overhead camera, so we'll see if I knocked it out of you. And I'll go get the asparagus. Oh yeah. Look at this. So this was oven off. This was with the oven off. Look at that gorgeous. I should do a cheese pull for you. Let's see. Let me get that beautiful cheese pull that everybody loves. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention. See if you can see. See the cheese pull? Do another one. I used, that's what people love. People love that. I used whole milk mozzarella. And I only ever use whole milk mozzarella because I think it is superior to the part skim. But if that's all you have, and when I say superior, I mean it melts better, it tastes better, it performs better, and I just think it's more delicious. So if you have part skim, certainly don't not make the recipe because that's not what because you don't have it. But definitely if you have the option to get some whole milk mozzarella, get a block if you want and grate it yourself. Let me move things out of the way so you can just see the beautifulness at the end of the final reveal. Get rid of my clutter. We can keep the salt and pepper there. Let's see who we got now. We got Mary, and thanks by the way, Tommy Ann, for being my my alarm clock, my timer. Mary, she roasts cherry tomatoes in the oven and put them in a jar with olive oil and Italian seasoning, and she uses them in our cooking. That's an excellent idea, Mary. I love roasting cherry tomatoes, and I mentioned that I love because they get blistered, and I love blistered tomatoes. It takes away some of the acidity, which I love, and I love the just trying to line that up for you. Yeah, and I just love the way the blistered adds a caramelization and a sweetness to an acidic, tangy fruit, which is a tomato. Yeah, so here we have it. So we have and again, if you wanted to put this under the broiler, you would get those little beautiful brown caramelized cheese spots all over the top. We've got the roasted asparagus, which you can do with a whole bunch of different vegetables, not soggy, crisp, beautiful cheese bowl. And then we've got the Brussels sprouts with snow peas and the sun-dried tomatoes cooked in the sun-dried tomato oil. So there's that much more flavor and depth and complexity going on. So both of these would make great springtime side dishes, whether it's Mother's Day, Memorial Day, a potluck. They're easy. I would say the cheesy asparagus is best served in your own home, but I have absolutely put it in a container and brought it to my son when it was food delivery day. So it doesn't look as gorgeous as it does on the sheet pan, but it travels well and it reheats well, and they both do. Even though you can serve them room temperature, they both reheat really well if you happen to make them for a party or a potluck in advance, and then you know that you can reheat. For the asparagus, I would wait to do the cheese until the last minute, but that certainly an option to prep ahead. If you know me, you know prep ahead is one of my mantras. I love to have things ready in advance so that when I am with friends and family, I am not laboring over the stove or the oven. It's pretty much prepped. I'm hanging out with you, and then I'm just grabbing the dishes as they finish up. So that's a big fan of that. We've got try biryani someday. Oh, that's from Screenlock. Screenlock. I have tried biryani. Listen to this. So I had biryani in India last summer. I thought it was the most delicious thing I'd ever had in my entire life. And I said, I'm going to learn how to make biryani. I don't care how long it takes. Because, Indian food often requires many, many, many steps, many ingredients, half the day. And my son was living in India for 3 months, and he also fell in love with it. And so he often puts the task on me, Mom, try to recreate this. I love this, try to recreate this. So I had biryani. He loved biryani. I came home, I created the recipe. I tweaked it multiple times. It's on my website, and we both agree that it is exactly the same as the biryani that we had, the favorite one that we had, the place that was the best that we, I even got it in the airport before I flew home. I wanted one last biryani. I got it in the airport before I went home. So I think if you try my recipe, and there are ways to adjust the heat level of that, so it doesn't have to be Indian food. People think is overtly spicy and unpalatably spicy, but this recipe is not, and you can adjust the heat, and you don't have to go to any fancy stores to find the ingredients. So I hope you try my biryani, and you can let me know what you think, because I'm confident that I figured it out. I unlocked the code, I think. You have to let me know. Paula, frozen vegetables just as nutritious as fresh seasonal ones. Oh, I missed a question. I'll come back to that too. I'll come back to you, Rosemary. So Paula, interestingly, and I'm put on my nutritionist hat for this. Yes. So frozen vegetables, and we're assuming you're not talking about the ones in the butter sauce and the Alfredo sauce. You're talking about just a plain vegetable, no salt. So frozen vegetables before they're frozen are they're blanched before they are flash frozen. When you do the blanching step, you lock in not just color, which is one of the reasons why they're doing it, so that you have bright green broccoli and green peas and, bright orange bell peppers. It's to lock in the color, but it also at that moment locks in the nutrients. So they're usually flash frozen at the peak of their ripeness, which is when they are the most nutritious. On the other hand, produce that's been sitting in the produce department for an extended period of time loses its nutritional value, interestingly. So you would think, well, I'm only going to ever get fresh. Well, if it's been sitting there for a while and it looks peaked, it probably has lost some of its nutritional value, and you're better off getting that particular item from the frozen food section for a recipe that you want to make. So I think that's a really interesting thing that people don't realize, because a lot of times for fresh produce, they pick it or pull it before it's ripe so that it has time to ripen as it sits. But those that are allowed to grow until they're ready have absorbed more nutrients from the soil. It's just a fact. So don't ever feel bad about using frozen produce. I mean, obviously it's great if you could go to your farmer's market and get something that the guy picked the day before or the morning of. That's awesome. That's going to be peak nutritional value, but never feel bad about hitting the frozen food section if you don't like what you see in the produce aisle. So that was a long answer, but hopefully it answered your question. And then Rosemary, Bogota, Colombia. Nice to, thank you so much. Oh, and she loves the program. So I love Craftsy too. I love the variety. I love that I wear the cooking hat and I do a lot of the live events and I do a bunch of classes. But if you're into knitting and crocheting and woodworking and photography and all that, there's something for everyone there. And you'll never run out of hobbies and things to do on the platform. So yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it. Always, always happy. Every time they ask me to do one of these, I say yes. When can I do more? We've got Patricia. Thanks, Robin. So glad I joined today. Great, great tips. Thank you, Patricia. I'm so glad you joined too. And if any of you have to go, I often see the questions. I know this goes up on Facebook. It goes up on YouTube. I check back regularly to see if there's any questions that people thought of after I wrapped. But if you think of something after we close it all out, please feel free to reach out there. You can also go to robinmillercooks.com. I have a contact form there. Last time I got a bunch of questions after the live, like 2 days later when people were doing the recipe for the breakfast braid. They had questions or they were about to go shopping. And so they found me on my website and I was able to help them out there, which I love because it makes it feel like, save the day kind of thing, like save the recipe. And we can't find this. Can we do this? And for those of you that have been to my website, I'm very excited about this. Like probably one of the most exciting things I've done, I don't want to say career-wise, but I'm so excited because I'm relaunching a new website. It's been under construction for months and months and months, and wait till you see it. It's got everything that you all have been asking for: print features, jump to features, scaling, nutrition. It's all organized. There's an index of the thousands of recipes that I've written. They're going to be able to find them with one keyword. So it's been a long, long process, and the goal is the end of May. So for those of you who've been to my current website, wait till you see, and still come and fill out the contact form, but wait until you see there's a newsletter and email sign up for it's just great. It's beautiful. So I hope you guys follow me there. It's still going to be Robin Miller Cooks, just new and improved. If I missed any questions, can you pop them in there? I think I got them all. I think I said hello to everybody from all over. And so if there's any more questions about this, about the ingredients that I used, the process, I wouldn't get any gluten-free questions today. They usually get because there's no gluten for a mile in any of these recipes. And I'm going to wrap up. If you have any questions, I'll keep looking, but I am so glad you joined me. And I want to remind you that I have a bunch of new content coming on Craftsy. 2 new shows I filmed about 3 weeks ago, and then the 2 before that I filmed in March. So there's 4 new classes, all fresh recipes and new content and new tips, lots and lots and lots of tips that are on the platform or about to be on the platform. So keep a lookout for that. Hope to be doing more of these lives, especially as we move into the summer months. We've got some fun ideas for the summer. And if you need me for any other things, Robin Miller Cooks, the contact page, or the question or the comment section of Facebook and YouTube once these links are available there. I don't think I didn't forget anything. I'm really glad you all joined me. It's so fun to hear where you're from and what your thoughts are. For the moms out there, I wish you happy Mother's Day. For the non-moms out there, take care of the mom if she's available, and move into Memorial Day and the rest of summer. And I hope you all have happy, safe, wonderful plans, whatever you choose to do. Tommy Ann, thanks for being my timer. And that's it. Happy spring. I tried to be a little springy. And again, I hope to see you soon. I'm really thankful that you joined me today, and happy cooking.